Mamma mia. Mamma mia. Tottenham fans, I have to say something straight away. You haven't just bought Sandro Tonali. You've bought the most expensive Italian footballer ever. And as an Italian, honestly, this feels strange, important, and heavy. All together at the same time, because we're talking about a deal worth around 100 million pounds. 100 million pounds. I repeat that, 100 million pounds for a player that we watched grow from the very beginning. And this is where I have to make fun of us. Of us Italians a little bit, because when Tonali was coming through at Brescia, when he moved to Milan, many of us were convinced we were watching the new Andrea Pirlo, Italian midfielder, Brescia, good technique, long hair, and the story was too easy. We looked at the picture and immediately thought, okay, this is the new Pirlo. And in reality, we understood absolutely nothing, because Tonali was never really Pirlo. Pirlo was calm, elegant, and always in control of the rhythm of the match. He could almost walk through a game and still dominate it. Tonali is completely different. He's not the kind of midfielder who plays with a cigar in his mouth. But he plays with fire. It's much more intense, much more emotional, much more aggressive in the way he lives the match. We all know he wants to run, press, recover the ball, attack space, and fill the game physically. He doesn't want to stay above the match. He wants to be inside it. And maybe this is the first thing I want to say to Tottenham fans. You already know Tonali, of course. He's played in the Premier League. You've seen him at Newcastle. You know his energy, his aggression, and his quality. So, of course, I'm not here to introduce him to you, like you've never watched football before. But maybe, as an Italian, I can give you a slightly different perspective, because we saw the beginning of the story, the expectations, the wrong comparisons, and the pressure they came with his name. And now we're seeing something incredible, an Italian becoming the center of one of the biggest projects in the Premier League. But first of all, guys, I'm Neschio, and this is Neschio Beyond the Calcio. Neschio Beyond the Calcio is correct. Today I want to give you my Italian take on Sandro Tonali to Tottenham. And before we go forward, as always, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, especially if you enjoy this kind of content. A porta! An Italian point of view on Premier League football, Serie A players, Italian managers, and the connection between English and Italian football. Because this season, believe me, we'll have a lot to talk about. Now though, let's go back to Tonali. For me, the key point of this transfer is not only the money, Of course, the money is huge. 100 million pounds is crazy, and we have to say it clearly, But the real key is the new manager, Roberto De Zerbi, because Tonali didn't just arrive at Tottenham by chance. The Zerbi wanted him strongly. This is not a random market opportunity or just a club buying a famous midfielder, This is a manager choosing a player because he sees him inside his football. And this is very important, very crucial. They're both from Brescia, and for us Italians, this is not a small detail. There is a culture connection, a football connection, and maybe even a human connection. De Zerbi knows what Tonali represents, where he comes from, and the kind of mentality he can bring. And I think Tonali also knows exactly what De Zerbi wants from a midfielder. Courage on the ball, personality under pressure, vertical passing, intensity without the ball. This is why the move makes sense, at least from a technical point of view. Because if you ask me, is Tonali worth 100 million pounds? My honest answer is complicated. In a normal world, maybe no. But football is not a normal world anymore, and Premier League money is not normal money. So the real question is different. Can Tonali become a central player in a new Tottenham identity? That, for me, is the point, because Tottenham are not moving like a quiet club this summer. They are moving like a club that wants to change everything. They've already brought in players like Robertson, Senesi, Vanecke, and Dubravka. They've also moved for Mateus Fernandes, £85 million for him. And if we add Tonali to all that, we're talking about an enormous investment, almost £240 million, according to Sky Sports. That is not normal, eh? That's not just a club saying, okay, we need one or two players. That is a rebuild, a real rebuild. And when you spend like this, you are sending a message to the fans, to the Premier League, and to the players in the dressing room, and maybe also to the Zerbi himself. Because you are saying, we'll believe in this project. Now, obviously, spending money is not enough. We've seen many times in football. You can buy many players and still not build a team. You can spend a fortune and still create confusion. So Tottenham's challenge is not only to collect names. The challenge is to create an idea, no? And this is why Tonali becomes interesting, because he can be more than a midfielder. He can become one of the symbols of the project. As I already said, a player who gives rhythm, aggression, and emotional energy to the team. But pay attention, he will also need structure around him, because Tonali is not magic on his own. He is not the kind of player who fixes every tactical problem just because he arrives. If the distances are wrong, he can suffer. If the team becomes too open, he can suffer. And if Tottenham expect him to be Pirlo, Gattuso and Modric all together, then maybe they are asking for the wrong thing. Tonali has to be used for what he is. A modern midfielder who can press, run, play forward, recover, attack, and above all, raise the emotional temperature of the team. And this is why I think that Zerbi could be the right manager for him. Because the Zerbi is not just buying talent, he's buying a profile that he clearly wants inside his system. And honestly, as an Italian, I'm proud. Seeing an Italian manager in the Premier League building around an Italian midfielder is beautiful. It gives us a reason to follow this Tottenham with even more attention. But at the same time, I'm also a little bit worried because the price is enormous, and when the price is enormous, patience disappears very quickly. After a bad performance, a mistake, or a difficult month, people will immediately talk about the money. This is normal, this is football, but I hope Tottenham fans judge Tonali in the right way. Not as the new Pirlo, not as a fantasy player, not as a miracle solution, but a strong, intense, emotional midfielder who can become very important if the team around him works properly. This is crucial. And I think this is the most exciting part. Tottenham are becoming one of the most interesting teams to follow this season. Not only because of Tonali and the Zerbi, but because the whole project looks ambitious, maybe risky, maybe expensive, and maybe even a little bit crazy, but ambitious. And I like ambitious football. I like clubs that try to build something with a clear idea. And because there are two important Italians at the center of the story, I can already tell you something. During the Premier League season, I'll follow Tottenham very, very closely on this channel. We'll talk about them often. We'll comment on their biggest matches. We'll analyze Tonali, the Zerbi and this whole project, because now Tottenham have no excuses. When you spend this kind of money, when you buy the most expensive Italian player ever and give the Zerbi this kind of squad, expectations have to rise. So now the ball is in your court. I love saying that. The ball is in your court. Tottenham fans, are you excited? Do you think Tonali is worth this money? And Newcastle fans, how painful is this sale? Let me know everything down below in the comments. And again, if you enjoyed this Italian point of view, please leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps me a lot, especially at this early stage. That's it. This was my Italian take. I send you the usual big hug from Nescio. Ciao.